Welcome to the Create Your Happy podcast, where the mission is to empower women in their journey of self-discovery. Here we explore how to fully embrace our humanness, find our unique voice, and understand that through unconditional love and conscious relationships, we have the power to change the world. I'm your host, Christy Holt, your one and only happiness hussy, adventure guide, and conscious funpreneur. I'm on a heartfelt mission to change the world one beautiful soul at a time. Are you ready to elevate your relationships to the next level? I've got you. It's time for a messy fucking beautiful adventure. It's time to create your happy. Hello, gorgeous humans. I am back to smash another relationship myth, this time one that can be a little bit more sneaky. In fact, many of you may very well be running this idea in the background. Today's myth is the idea that you have to be perfect in order to be loved. Now, we humans can often be found striving for impossible standards without even realizing that that's what we're doing. Spoiler alert, the idea of perfection is mere illusion, and chasing it is a complete waste of your human experience. So in this episode, I'm going to dive into some of the unrealistic standards and expectations that we may have placed on ourselves in order to deem ourselves worthy to be loved. And I can't wait to share why your imperfections might actually be relationship gold. Pobody's Nerfect. Thanks, Kristen Bell and the writers of The Good Place for introducing me to this one. Now, we all know this on the surface, but far too often, our actions tell another story. And here's why it happens. We live in a society that glorifies perfection. Whether it's the perfect body, the perfect job, or the perfect relationship, we're bombarded with unrealistic standards. You know the story. Find the one and have a picture-perfect wedding, buy the perfect home with the white picket fence, and have the picture-perfect family of precisely 2.1 children, one boy and one girl, obvi. If you deviate from the expected plan, you risk facing judgmental comments and questions from well-meaning friends, family, and strangers alike. The potential here is complete social annihilation. Now add to this the impact of social media, where we are constantly taking in curated images and stories, which often exacerbate feelings of inadequacy and the very need to appear perfect in order to get likes and approval. Striving for perfection is exhausting, and honestly, it's a facade anyway. Not only do we often suffer from the psychological impacts of perfectionism, such as anxiety, depression, and burnout, but there are also often significant impacts on both our physical health and our relationship health, or even when we can't seem to find relationships. Now, the truth is that no one is actually perfect, and that's actually what makes us human. It's our flaws and our quirks that make us unique. And even the idea that we can reach some subjective idea of perfection is mere illusion. It's like a mirage that we will end up chasing indefinitely, one that constantly disappears and then reappears further away. Ultimately, we are ever evolving and growing, and thus perfection is a destination we will never actually reach. So I invite you to try on the idea of being real instead of perfect and see what shifts for you. When it comes to relationships, real love isn't about finding a perfect person, but rather learning how to accept an imperfect person. It's about embracing each other's flaws and quirks because that's what makes us unique. It's about accepting one another's mistakes because they're what make us human. And even more importantly, this requires us to embrace our own flaws and quirks and mistakes, to accept our own humanity. Because without love and acceptance for ourselves, it will simply not be possible to experience the full depth of love from another. And I'm going to share why. Let's start at the beginning. Striving for perfection often shows up as a result of childhood trauma, when at some point early in our lives, we may have received the messaging, directly or indirectly, that made us believe that our flaws made us unworthy of love. And as a result, we may have believed it necessary to perform in a certain way in order to earn love, or to do things to become worthy of receiving love. And often this belief may be running in the background completely unbeknownst to us, but causing us to believe that we might either not be worthy of love, which is not true because we are. We might even end up self-sabotaging our chances at love. Sidebar here is that I truly actually believe that all self-sabotage is actually self-preservation, which is aimed at keeping us safe in the certainty of our familiar circumstances. But that's a topic for another day. When perfection is the goal, we far too often abandon ourselves by wearing masks and performing in ways that we hope will create favor or love. We may stop expressing ourselves authentically out of fear of not finding or even losing love. And in the end, we may end up, quote unquote, fitting in. But at what cost? So often we are striving to fit in, but what we actually want is to feel as though we belong. And guess what? True belonging requires us to be ourselves. And as Brené Brown says so eloquently, because true belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves to the world, our sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self-acceptance. Vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage. And truth and courage aren't always comfortable, but they're never weakness. I mean, wow. If we cannot find a way to love and accept ourselves, we will continuously struggle to receive love from another, thwarting the reception of love with our own judgments around our unworthiness or our worthiness to feel loved, whether consciously or completely unconsciously. And here's the thing. You don't have to love yourself first in order to be worthy of love. But it sure makes a big difference when it comes to your experience of being loved. If you don't love yourself, it impacts your ability to receive love. The underpinning message being that you're somehow not worthy of it unless insert societal or personal expectation here. And others absolutely can love you, even unconditionally, even if you don't love yourself. But if you do have this underlying belief that maybe somehow, in some way, you don't deserve it, you'll end up Uno reverse carding that love faster than your partner can say those 3 little words. Message not received. On the other hand, being vulnerable and open about our imperfections can actually strengthen bonds and foster deeper connections, helping us to create the kinds of relationships that most of us truly desire. I used to act as though I had to be perfect and prove myself in order to be loved. So this is all coming from a lot of personal experience. And in fact, I recall one job interview that I had when I was just finishing university and entering the workforce. And I recall how they asked me to share my strengths and my weaknesses. And I remember proudly proclaiming that my greatest weakness was perfectionism. Yes, I thought I was so clever sharing this weakness that was actually a disguised strength. And perhaps the attention to detail was a real strength when you're going into the field of accounting, but I cringe now thinking back to how clever I thought I was, hiding away. Now, my perfectionism even had me thinking I couldn't have any true flaws or I wouldn't be accepted, which is why I did this little switcheroo on the weakness. I wasn't always aware of the belief that was running subconsciously, but I was acting in a way that was blocking me from the full experience of love. And guess what? When we enter into relationships wearing masks and performing in order to be liked, valued, and loved, we actually trap ourselves in many ways. Not only do we end up in a fear cycle that if they ever found out about the real us, they might leave. Hello, fear of abandonment. But we exhaust ourselves trying to keep up with the charade. And this often leaves us feeling burnt out, resentful, and frustrated. I mean, we're putting in all of this effort in order to be loved and accepted, yet deep inside, we don't believe we're worthy of it. And so we end up not having the experience that we are so desperately trying to create. Talk about a relationship catch-22. Now take, for example, the strong pull here to be physically attractive to the other gender, taking in all of society's standards for perfection, which, by the way, are most often based on airbrushed Photoshop people who, in fact, themselves don't actually look the way that we are all striving to look. But here, if you're following this and trying to keep up, you're setting the stage for some unhealthy patterns in your relationships. I mean, if we prioritize being physically attractive for the purposes of attracting a mate over being our authentic selves, we really can stick ourselves into a loop. Constant dieting, or even sucking in our gut, coloring our hair, wearing makeup, worrying about aging. This all can even lead us to physically altering our bodies through plastic surgery in order to keep up the appearance that we are young and attractive and worthy of love. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with wanting to look good, because when we look good, we usually feel good, and when we feel good, we are more likely to take positive actions. But it's one thing to take care of yourself so that you feel good, and it's entirely another when these actions are driven by fear of abandonment or a feeling of not good enoughness. Now, essentially, if this need to look good is causing you to abandon your authentic self in favor of a quote-unquote better version of you, it can be really easy to lose track of who you really are, which can result in your feeling extremely unfulfilled and like your life lacks real purpose. Research even shows that perfectionism often leads to depression, anxiety, and addiction, not to mention the analysis paralysis that can actually keep us stuck and keep us from doing the things that we truly want to do and from creating those experiences that we truly want to create. It's almost nearly impossible to become the version of you that you wish to be while striving for a version of success that doesn't actually exist. So why not free yourself from this battle that you cannot win? Are you ready to break free from self-doubt and embrace a life of empowerment? Introducing the Unstuck for Women Daily Self-Discovery Journal, the ultimate companion to my international best-selling book, Unstuck for Women. This beautifully designed journal will take you on a transformative 90-day journey of gratitude, self-discovery, and personal growth. Each day, you'll dive deep into powerful insights, prompts, and exercises that build confidence and self-love. Align your actions with your desired feeling state and watch as your life transforms. This journal is your key to unlocking the extraordinary woman within you. So get ready to embark on a journey of self-discovery and personal growth like never before. You can order your copy of the Unstuck for Women Daily Self-Discovery Journal today. Unleash your limitless potential. One significant piece of the puzzle that I feel is often missed is self-compassion. We are taught all about how to build a strong self-esteem so that we can be confident. But so much of this relies on us earning or proving ourselves to others so that we may be validated by others or our accomplishments. We fear that without a healthy dose of perfectionism, we will fall short, perhaps even to the point of total failure. We often worry that if we were actually kind to ourselves, we might become, God forbid, unmotivated or complacent, or worse, self-centered. And self-compassion is really no different than the compassion that we often give to others. Yet so many of us struggle with giving it to ourselves, thinking it's selfish or dangerous. And this couldn't be farther from the truth. Even when you think it's your fault that you've made a mistake, you deserve more love, not more suffering, shame, and punishment. I believe that self-compassion is the true catalyst for lasting growth. And when I dropped the perfectionism and started being more of my authentic self, that's when I actually found true love. It's incredibly liberating to be loved for who you are rather than who you think you should be. And yes, it requires vulnerability. It requires you putting your heart on the line. But it's truly the only way to be able to fully receive the unconditional love and acceptance that you deserve. You'll absolutely discover that the more you that you are, the more your weaknesses, that which makes you human, allows you to truly connect with others, giving them permission to fully be themselves too. A liberation of sorts, and ultimately solid fucking gold when it comes to creating meaningful connections with others. And when you're not your authentic self, you're not able to be truly seen or heard. And if you're not feeling seen or heard, how can you feel loved and accepted? Authenticity is the cornerstone of a fulfilling relationship. And instead of striving to be perfect, let's remember, it's better to strive to be real, because this will get you far closer to fulfilling relationships than trying to maintain the illusion of perfection ever will. Besides that, it's just far less exhausting to simply be you. Your challenge for this week is to identify within yourself one flaw that you may have been hiding. First, I want you to look at this flaw with a lens of love and self-compassion. You don't need to like it. You simply need to recognize that it's part of your incredible humanity, perfectly imperfect and designed for precisely the experiences that you most long for. And if you're feeling particularly brave, go ahead and share this flaw with someone that you trust. More often than not, we end up catastrophizing our weaknesses and mistakes in our mind, making them out to be epically worse, really, than they truly are. And once they're out in the open, we often realize that they aren't such a big deal after all, especially when other people find them so relatable that they relay right back to you that they have experienced much the same. Now, whether you share this experience and this flaw with another person or not, I want you to simply notice how it feels to express your authentic self, even if it's just you recognizing your own humanity. By taking this first step to accepting yourself in all of your glorious, perfect imperfections, you are truly setting the stage to create the healthy and happy relationships that you crave. And if you're struggling with self-acceptance, I invite you to check out my mini course called Love Reimagined, which is designed to help you gain confidence in yourself and build self-love through compassionate self-discovery. Alternatively, my Unstuck for Women Daily Self-Discovery Journal is an excellent tool to start diving within. And of course, as always, you are welcome to reach out if you'd like to explore options for tailored one-to-one mentorship that meets you right where you are at. You can also get started today with my free e-guide, The Relationship Cheat Codes. And spoiler alert, these cheat codes are designed to help you build a healthy relationship with yourself so that you can transform your relationships from the inside out. And I'll share the links for all of these and some other special offers in the show notes below, so be sure to check that out. Coming up in the next episode, I'm going to be sharing how you can become a boundary boss. You absolutely do not want to miss this next episode because boundaries are an essential part of authentic expression. All right, gorgeous. Don't forget to embrace the messy, fucking beautiful adventure that is life. I love you. Now let's go do some epic shit, shall we? Thank you so much for listening to today's show. I trust you were inspired to take back your power and create your happy. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love to hear from you. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with the women in your life who could use a little more inspiration today. If you'd like to connect or explore the additional resources mentioned in this episode, you can find those details and links in the show notes below. As always, get out there, have fun, be you, and create your happy.